Thank you very much, and thank you for this invitation to speak today. It's a great privilege, and I have to admit that as a teenager I was lazy, very lazy, especially during the German lessons. For that reason I will have to do this in English. I'm sorry about that, and you have to use earphones if you don't understand what I'm telling you. Anyway, bicycle culture in Copenhagen, probably world famous all over in many ways. I'll give you a short introduction to how it works and also put it into a framework of how we're developing the city and other perspectives. First of all, a few basic facts. The city of Copenhagen has a quite healthy economy. We have 530,000 people living in the city. 1,000 new citizens every month. It's a growing city. The average age is 35 years. I think this is quite unique for the city. We are building a lot of strategies. One of them is e-commerce metropolis, about a climate capital, about being the world's best city for cycling, about a green and blue capital, clean and healthy big city, and so on. And this strategy, along with other strategies, for instance, this a metropolis for people, which is about more urban life for all, to use the urban space better, to more people to walk more people to stay longer. All these strategies are fitting into specific goals, putting into our balanced scorecard in the administration. So we are really following a very high ambition and also doing it very constrained. The last one, the new climate plan, is aiming at becoming carbon neutral by 2025 as the first capital in the world, probably. We'll see who can overtake us on this one. And during this springtime, in March, we will also launch a strategy on how to get there. And I believe that transport area will cover something like between 20 and 30% of this ambition. Cycling is much more than just getting a precious mobility in a cheap way. It speaks and it contributes into a lot of other interesting topics. One is to create a livable city in a human scale. You know, the bike is a human scale means of transportation, it's a human rhythm, it's people on the streets and so on. It's also cheap mobility. It's very easy to invest in bicycle infrastructure. It's about accessibility for all and everywhere. It's easy access almost everywhere. It's about zero emission transportation. Not much congestion is limited, and also a social dimension and also a public health dimension that I will come back to later. By 2025, our aim is to hit a 50% share modal split on bicycles. Now we are counting commuters arriving at workplaces and educational places in the city, wherever they come from. But also a 30% cut of 80% of cyclists is feeling safe on the streets, and a 50% injuries reduction. Mobility, the modal split is looking like this: 37% on bikes. Probably a few people from Amsterdam here, they'll probably be able to compete on this one, but that's the only one, I'm sure. And as you can actually see that the car share is still 31%, and what's actually suffering, so to speak, is basically public transport. So a few more basic facts. 1.2 kilometers is cycled every day in the city inside the city boundaries. We have only 92, I think, serious injuries in 2010 compared to 250 in 1996. There's a dramatically drop in accidents on bicycles. And 60% of Copenhagens choose their bike on all trips, and I couldn't give you more numbers like the one that we have more bikes than we have citizens in Copenhagen. About the traffic safety, the blue line is the number of bikes traveling through the city in the last 14 years. The green line is the risk of being a cyclist. You can see actually a rapidly drop in the risk of being a cyclist. This is due to our work on traffic safety, but it's also due to that the number of bikes in itself is actually protecting the individual. The more bikes we have, the more awareness we have amongst car drivers and bicycle drivers. So about the safety issue, the answer to how we do this is to take a careful look at crossings and intersections. This is actually where the hidden agenda is. Take good care of crossings and intersections. Make the bicycles visible in the crossing. We use withdrawn stoplights. We use separate traffic lights for bikes. We also use, we demand during our tendering of the heavy transport that the heavy lorries has a transparent right side to the driver to be able to see what's on his right side on the corner. It's got actually a very difficult spot to watch when you drive a big truck. And also safety reduction due to redesigns on our most busiest intersections. The example on the bottom right was redesigned 4 or 5 years ago, and actually we cut 70% of the accidents without losing any capacity due to simple redesign and clever thinking based on black spots management techniques. So when we ask Copenhageners, why do you use your bike? The answers that we get is from 88%, because it's quick, easy, and convenient. I get my daily exercise is into the picture for 32%. It's cheap, says 29%, and environment friendly is only 9%. So don't misunderstand this. This is about making it easy, fast, convenient, reliable, and so on. It's not because we are crazy environmentalists, all of us in Copenhagen. So what the people in Copenhagen want is to have fast, safe, and comfortable direct trips. That's how to do it. Build the infrastructure, make it safe, make it comfortable, and so on. And to be honest, Copenhageners love their bikes, or their cars as well, especially the German ones, build very good German cars. So on top of this agenda, or parallel to this agenda on the bikes, we also have programs running for an increasing number of parking places. We are enlarging our ring road systems and things like that. We also have a lot of things going on to put better service and better mobility based on the cars that some of us actually needs in our daily life and some of us loves very much. And also on top of this, to quote the previous speaker, we have an e-mobility program running as well. And I can tell you that for the City Council was approved and decided that by the 1st of January this year, the city administration only buys EVs, nothing else. Bus priority schemes is running through the city. And we do a lot of full-scale experiments. This is actually a really good recommendation. If you have some thoughts about, well, it couldn't change the situation, why don't you try for 3 months, 4 months, put it in full scale, see what happens. That's a very, very clever way of making changes in the infrastructure system because you can see it for real. And on top of this, a metro system. We have almost 8 or 9 years of experience with our new metro lines. And right now, the city is that's the reason why I'm here, because the city is one big construction place. It's really terrible because we are building 17 new metro stations in the middle of the city to be opened by 2018. Congestion charging scheme, also a very, very hot issue. Today, actually, as I speak, the transport minister is actually launching the program. We have a new government a few months ago, and this new government declared that, well, the city of Copenhagen must have a congestion charging schemes. So that is also into the very near future. Being a city with cyclists with so high a motor spare on cyclists, you could say, well, we don't have to do anymore because it's still working. But with so many people on bikes, we also have a huge demand for more. Because it's so much into everyday's life for the Copenhageners, all of us want better bike lanes, more comfortable bike lanes, wider bike lanes, things like that. So in order to take this challenge, we have drafted a new bicycle strategy. It's so new, 2 weeks old, that I still only have the Danish version, so I will have to translate some of it. This says, from good to being the best in the world. And the strategy is basically about comfort, about good cycle lanes, all the year round, a new public bike system. We have to solve the issue of cycle parking. It's about speed. We have to provide an infrastructure for bikes that has the high speed opportunity. The newest bike lanes we're building is between 3 and 4 meters wide. We're talking 3 lanes at a side on bikes on the most busiest bike lanes, covering maybe something like between 30 and 40,000 bikes a day. And the most busiest one. Safety is of course important, but it maybe is even more important is the feeling of safety. If you don't feel safe, you won't go on a bike. You won't let your children go on a bike. You won't let your wife go on a bike or whatever. So the issue of feeling of safety is very much into the picture and very much into our school travel program is really basically about the feeling of safety. So the infrastructure is about, improving of infrastructure is about having a coherent and high quality network with high comfort, with high speeds, and with no missing links in between. This is basically the highest or the most important part of the network. You know, probably all major streets in Copenhagen have cycle lanes or cycle paths, but some of them are more important than others, and this is actually the red ones you see on this bridge. And on top of this, also a green cycle network that offers something different, a nice experience through quiet and green neighborhoods, through older railroad lines and along the beaches, things like that, covering 110 kilometers of network in the city of Copenhagen. Almost half of it has been built already. Details are important, and in a little while, when the first snow hits the ground, the first thing that happens is that we remove the snow from the cycle lanes, because cyclists are much more sensible to the snow than the cars. This is one important detail that really makes a lot of difference for the people that also use bikes during winter, and that is actually between 60 and 70% of the ones that are driving through the summer. So a lot of us is actually doing it during winter as well. One of the tricks is also to make sure that the cyclist is feeling appreciated and seen from the city, which actually means that when we build something for bicycles, we build it very high quality, high design, the best architects that we can find on the earth actually. So the message that we're giving the bicycles is that you are the important ones. We like to care for you. We really appreciate what you are doing, that you're choosing this emission-free way of transportation that actually has so much to offer to the city. It also gets into the details of the furniture and the service things that we put into the streets, like an air pump or a cycle counter or whatever, a lot of other different things. And this one has been a huge success. Actually, we ask people, we put out an app, mobile phone, saying, well, if you find somewhere on the streets you're missing something, like a small ramp, or something that you hit your shoulder towards something that is too close to the cycle lane, but just give us a hint. What is here is actually give us a hint, and you can actually mail or use this app, or you can text us about this situation, where it is, what you need, and it goes directly into the administration. And usually those ideas coming directly from the citizens are very small and very cheap and very easy things to solve. And the amount of pinpoints you can see on the map is actually after, I think it's 3 or 4 months of this scheme running, we had tremendous amounts of ideas coming in for the citizen, and almost half of them has been built already. Quite cheap, very effective. Looking at our newest development of the city, on top right you will see the new Northern Harbour area that is going to be changed into housing and the workplaces. And the basic idea of this, talking about infrastructure, is that we want this city and the citizens coming to the city to have the same kind of behavior as the people on the rest of the city, which means that we have to design this new development in order to make cycling very, very easy and public transport very, very easy, and of course also a program for EVs and charge spots. It means that the public transport scheme is actually going straight and fast, as well as the bikes. But if you choose to use your car, well, you might have to take around the block a few times in order to get where you want. Making it easy, basically, to choose the green way of doing it. The slope you see on the bottom left is actually the new metro system running into the new harbour area. But it's not only a metro system, it's also a metro system with a super duper cycle track underneath, covered by the roof. Another way is the former brewery of Carlsberg, resident in Copenhagen. Now they moved out to somewhere else in the country, and the area is actually now developed into housing areas mostly. In the same time, the same way, we are trying to put in the human scale, the human speed, the human mobility into the development of this area in all the ways that we can do it. You can maybe see from this sketch about how we are dissolving public space and making connections, that we're making it easy to have this kind of mobility choice. Working on the edge zones, working on what happens along the facades, getting into pictures like this, human scale, very narrow, very dense, very environment friendly, and based on bikes, car parks in the cellars underneath. Another example is the new development of Ørestad, which actually doesn't have the same kind of scale inside itself, but it's covered with bike lanes and bicycle tracks all over the city, and also a lot of green cycle routes covered into this. On the right, you see the metro line going directly to this new development from the beginning. In the close city center, we are developing new urban spaces, taking the bike and the bike parking facilities directly into the sketches from the beginning. This is the busiest train station in Copenhagen, and you will see the bike parking facilities also dressed like furniture on the surface, trying to make it a very nice character. New bridges are coming in, crossing the harbor, and a lot of other appreciations. This is the previous mayor handing out morning rolls on the annual Bike to Work campaign. Small things happening, but all the time trying to appreciate the good behavior, the choice that the citizens are making to get it even higher, to reach the 50% that we like. It gets into the veins of the city. It makes people everywhere, people that are exposed to the city life, which makes a very high, I think, effect also on the feeling of safety in general, and also probably prevention of crimes and so on. Getting close to the winter, and a lot of us will still be running on our bikes. I think on a day like this, probably we won't say 60% of the usual bike riders, probably is only 20 or 25%. But basically, using a bicycle in Copenhagen, you're not a bicyclist in Copenhagen, you're just a Copenhagener doing like anyone else. It's as simple as using a vacuum cleaner, putting on your shoes or brushing your teeth. You just take the bike because it's so easy, convenient, fast, and reliable. And that is basically the answer to the question of how to create a bicycle-friendly city. Is providing infrastructure, is making it easy, is making it comfortable, is making it that you feel safe about it. Not only paradise, also there is some problems. We do have congestion on bicycle lanes, and also the issue of bicycle parking is very, very difficult to solve. And we haven't done this yet. Here I'm actually looking at Amsterdam, that might be a little bit better than us. And anyway, we will continue working on this issue as well. Numbers are still growing. This is the curve slowing the number of bike trips crossing the inner city ring. You will see that car traffic is actually very stable, actually a little bit decreasing this time, as long as at the same time the numbers of bikes are still improving, and still improving also the last year. Investments annually approximately something like 35 euros per citizen annually. On top of this, a few bridges and so on, but this is basically the level that we've been on for the last 8 or 9 years, and I think we will continue the next few years as well. A last thing about health effects. This is tremendous. I mean, looking into how to calculate health effects from bicycle using the exercise element gives us tremendous numbers when you talk about the socioeconomic effect of bicycles. Children is getting much more better physical condition when they go on bikes, but also adults have a 30% lower mortality rate if you go 2 times 20 minutes on bikes to and from work, for instance. This is not so bad. And the health benefits from 10% increase in cycling of these numbers like this, tremendous numbers. Actually, same kind of numbers you will find on smoking, non-smoking. I will skip this one and just give you a few pictures at last, showing the human scale into the city, how it does inflect the livability of the city and the sense of the city, and also the image of the city. I mean, there is some reason that I was invited here today, and I could actually spend all days, I think, traveling around the world to tell this story, because it has been very, very well known and very appreciated that cities like Copenhagen has been able to develop a cycling culture like this one. At last, if you need more information, I'll be here the rest of the day, or you can go for our websites. Especially the Cycling Embassy of Denmark is a very interesting website. Everything's in English, it's free. It's a lot of best practice, documentation, and things like that, so don't hesitate to go there. And thank you for your attention.